Section 1. You will hear two students, Peter and Mary, planning their weekend. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Well, Mary, you're free this weekend, and so am I. So let's plan the agenda. We said we're going to see a movie on Saturday, right?
Yes.
But what time?
It's cheapest in the afternoon and very expensive at night, of course, so let's go in the afternoon.
Sounds good. Have some fun before preparing that night for all our studies.
Peter and Mary will see the movie in the afternoon, so afternoon has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Well, Mary, you're free this weekend, and so am I. So let's plan the agenda. We said we're going to see a movie on Saturday, right?
Yes.
But what time?
It's cheapest in the afternoon and very expensive at night, of course, so let's go in the afternoon.
Sounds good. Have some fun before preparing that night for all our studies.
But you mentioned that new action movie.
Sure.
Well, that's what you want to see, but I'd rather see that comedy.
I thought we'd agreed on the action movie.
You just said that you'd like it. I didn't. My friends tell me my movie is very funny too.
Okay, I'm fine with that. A comedy it is. We can see my action film another time. So that's Saturday afternoon planned, and that night we'll just eat at a restaurant.
Where?
I don't have much money, but there are some nice cheap places near the cinema. What about Pizza King?
I'm not that keen on pizza, actually. There's a noodle place near there. What about that?
Oh, I really wanted to eat pizza.
And you know how fattening pizza is, and not nearly as healthy as noodles either.
Okay, we'll do it your way again. Noodles it is.
Okay, that's Saturday done. But Sunday, we have to study, right?
You bet. We'd better start early too. 10 a.m, let's say. We can meet in the library about that time.
Okay, let me write that in my diary. But 10 in the morning is a bit late, don't you think? We've got a lot to do, so I should think 9 a.m. is the very latest we should meet.
9 a.m? Sunday morning? Are you serious? What about 9:30?
No, it's important to be disciplined, so I'll be there at that earlier time.
All right, 9 a.m. The early bird catches the worm or passes the exam, right?
Right. But should we study for the science class or the maths one?
Or even history. There's so much to study.
Well, let's just stick to the original plan. Science, right?
Yeah, we can study for maths another time.
Okay, that's decided. Now, that just leaves the afternoon.
But there's lunch first. I think we can have my choice of restaurant this time. That's only fair.
But the university cafeteria is not far, and cheap too.
But I thought we could have pizza.
There's a nice sandwich bar there, and that's a healthier option. I'm doing this for your own good. Look at you, Peter. You're already overweight.
Okay. We'll take the healthy option again.
Sandwiches it is, and you'll thank me for this later.
Yeah.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Well, Mary, I think we've planned our day well, but I've always wanted to ask you what you think of our course of study.
I think it's good. Very good, in fact.
So do I.
Apart from some of the teachers.
What do you mean?
Well, our maths tutor, Mr. Vernon, is okay,
Sure,
but he doesn't seem to care much about the subject matter.
but he knows his stuff. I think he's excellent. I'm surprised you don't think so too.
He's satisfactory, as I said, but I'd just like him to care more, or try a bit harder.
But he's smart and explains things well. What more could you want?
Just for him to have more passion about what he does. He could be more like, say, Mr. Harrison.
Mr. Harrison is always late, though, and he's never well prepared. Rushes in, notes falling everywhere, a complete mess.
But it's his attitude that matters. Mr. Harrison wants to help students. He has passion, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, a passion for disorganisation and presenting things in a very confusing way. That's why I like Miss Whitehead. She comes on time and presents everything very clearly with her PowerPoint displays.
But she's also rather mechanical. She just clicks buttons and the PowerPoint shows another slide.
Very clear slides, and she explains it clearly as well, and that's the most important thing.
But she's not connecting much with the students.
Ah, come on. Only the bad students are not paying attention. All the rest, those who really care, are listening, and the information is given clearly, concisely, and she knows her stuff.
I don't deny that. I'm just saying that a truly good teacher needs a human connection with the students. Without that, teachers ultimately fail in their purposes, and thus she must be considered a failure.
Phew, you are a tough one to please, I'll say that much.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You are going to hear some announcements made to a group of people who are planning a trip to Greece. First, look at questions 11 to 16. As you listen to the first part of the talk, answer questions 11 to 16.
Good morning, everyone. I'm getting very excited about this trip to Greece, and I'm sure you are too. As you know, we didn't have all the details at our last meeting, but I can give them to you now. We leave London Gatwick Airport on British Airways next Wednesday. Please be sure to be at the airport by 4:30. I know it's early, but our departure time is 8:25 a.m. We're quite a large group, and we don't want to have any hassles. Please be sure to have all your travel documents ready. We'll arrive in Athens at 2:25 in the afternoon, and there'll be a vehicle there to meet us. It'll be a full-size coach, so everyone can travel together. We'll spend 3 full days in Athens, and we booked for 2 nights accommodation in the hotel. The second day, we'll go to the National Archaeological Museum to see the enormous collection of ancient Greek works of art, antiques, statues, a brilliant display. We'll eat out at a typical Greek restaurant on Thursday night. It's going to be a very busy time in Athens. Friday morning and afternoon, we'll visit historic sites, but we have nothing planned for the rest of the day. On Saturday, we're off to the islands, the Greek islands of ancient myth and modern romance. Now, the big news. At first, we thought we'd take the ferry, but we've been very lucky to secure a sailing boat which is big enough for all of us. I'm really excited about this part of the trip, because we'll see the islands to the best advantage, and we'll be able to cruise around and sleep on board. We'll get off at different islands, and for one part of the trip we'll have people playing Greek traditional music actually on board with us. Now, I'll pass out a brochure with all the details.
Now look at questions 17 to 20. As the talk continues, answer questions 17 to 20.
A lot of work has gone into organising this tour, and I'd like to thank in particular the travel agent who got us a really good deal and the people at the British Museum who offered us such good advice. Trips like this only happen because of the hard work of really expert people. As you know, we have planned a gathering for when we return. I have a list of things which the committee would like you to bring to the party. They are your pictures and something to eat for everyone to share. You are bound to have people ask what we have in common and why we are travelling as a group. I suppose the answer is that we are interested in learning about old societies and vanished cultures, and we all enjoy travelling. Of course, we enjoy fine food too, but that's not as important. Nearly forgot the last piece of information. You will see there are labels which I have passed around for you to put on all your luggage. Could you fill them in, please? On the top line, please write Greek Tour. And on the lower line, write in block letters, uppercase, the letters AA and the number 3. That's AA3. We need to have these labels clearly displayed to help the baggage handlers to keep our luggage together on the different parts of our trip. So please, don't take them off.
That is the end of section 2. You now have some time to check your answers.
Section 3. You will hear a student Eric talking to his lecturer, Mrs. Harris, about some study difficulties. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Mrs. Harris. I really liked your lecture, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Glad it was interesting. So, how can I help you?
Well, why do you think I need help?
You just don't look too happy.
I admit I'm having some difficulties.
About what?
Oh, it's hard to say exactly. All the reading is quite a chore, but I'm handling it. What really wears me down are the assignments.
The reading load is just part of the course, but sure, the assignments take more time, more effort.
And you know how you have to use what you read in your assignments?
That's right. That's the point of the readings.
Well, the reading passages also seem, well...
Boring?
No, not boring, but it's hard to connect it all, to remember what the readings are about, if you know what I mean.
Well, I'd advise you to write a small summary at the back of each reading text.
Really?
Absolutely. Basically, you don't want to be going through these texts again and again, and you'll need to refer to them often. So write a small summary, and when you revisit these texts, just read these.
I'm not too sure how to write a summary, though.
It's easy enough. The important thing is to check that you've written the main point and not just a list of details in order of their appearance. Details are not what matters, so again, don't make a list of these. That will just waste valuable time, and you're going to get very busy soon enough. Usually these articles argue a point, or otherwise have a certain purpose, so think all the time, what's the point and what's the purpose?
OK, and just write that.
Not just that. You have to think about the supporting points also. Then you might wish to cite some evidence. You can decide that yourself. But what's the most important thing about a summary?
That it's accurate?
No, that it's short. After all, it's a summary, right? So, main point, supporting point, some evidence, and most importantly, keep it short, okay?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Well, those points about writing summaries sound useful, but what about the actual formatting of the summary? On paper, I mean. Are there any other points I should know about?
Yes, there's a lot actually. It's very important to...
Write clearly?
Write the author's name.
But the author's name is in the text anyway.
But it must also be in your summary. And you must always lead with this. For example, Peter Brown argues that, and so on.
So the author's name is Peter Brown?
Yes, and the actual summary continues from there. And here's another good hint. Always write the citation details at the top using bullet points. This makes these details clearer and easier to see, and immediately means you're not plagiarizing the text. You are acknowledging the source, which is academic and required. This also allows you to quickly write these details down later, if you paraphrase or quote from either the summary or the original text.
What details go in the citation?
The year of publication is obviously important, but here's another tip. Make sure whatever you're reading is not more than 10 years old. Anything older than that is considered too dated, since business theory moves on fairly quickly. You can cite older texts, but only under special conditions.
What are they?
Well, if the text is a very well-known book, a classic of its kind, but then you have to indicate that in your writing, acknowledge that the book is dated, but then give a justification about why you nevertheless felt the need to use it.
I see.
So you'll have a lot of summaries for all the texts, but with such clear formatting you'll be able to access information quickly. But make sure you store these pages in an order, of course, alphabetical. Based on the author's family names is the simplest method.
Or in order of date, chronological order?
That's possible too, but I'd say alphabetical is always the best.
My friends say chronological order has more advantages.
Any system is fine, provided that it's logical and that you can follow it and quickly access your summaries at a later date.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You will hear a talk about the pitfalls and pleasures of being a postgraduate student. Look at questions 31 to 37. Listen to the speaker's advice and answer questions 31 to 37.
Postgraduates are about as easy to define as catching steam in a bucket. Courses can be vocational, for training, as research, as a preparation for research, or a combination of these. Also, you can choose between full-time and part-time. Increasingly, the approach to postgraduate study is becoming modular. The vast majority of postgraduates are doing short, taught courses, many of which provide specific vocational training. Indeed, there has been a 400% increase in postgraduate numbers in Britain over the past 20 years. Current figures stand at just under 400,000. People undertake postgraduate study for many reasons. These may be academic, intellectual challenge, development of knowledge, vocational, training for a specific career goal, or only vague, drifting into further study. It is essential that you determine the reasons you want to become a postgraduate. If you have clear goals and reasons for studying, this will enhance your learning experience and help you to remain focused and motivated throughout your course. Where you study should be based on much more than the course you want to do. For some courses, you are likely to be there for several years, and it is important that you are happy living there. Check also what type of accommodation is available and whether the institution provides any housing specifically for postgraduates. Choosing an institution and department is a difficult process. To determine quality, do not rely on the reputation of an institution, but find out what ratings are from the most recent assessment exercises. Find out about the staff, their reputation, competence, enthusiasm, and friendliness. Visit the department if possible and talk to existing postgraduates about their experience, satisfaction, comments, and complaints. Most importantly, check how they feel about their supervisors. Also, check what facilities are available, both at an institutional level, for example libraries, laboratory and computing facilities, and in the department, for example study room, desk, photocopying, secretarial support, etc. Everyone will have their own priorities here. I'm always anxious to check the computer support available and regard it as slightly more important than library access. Your working environment and the support available to you plays an essential part in making your work as a postgraduate a positive experience. Life as a postgraduate can be very different to your other experiences of education. Things that can distinguish your experience are the level of study, independence of working, intensity of the course, the demands on your time, and often the fact that you are older than the majority of the students. These factors can contribute to making you feel isolated. However, there are several ways you can make sure that this is either short-lived or does not happen at all. Many student unions have postgraduate societies that organize social events and may also provide representation for postgraduates to both the student union and the institution. Departments can also help to create a sense of identity and community, and often have discussion groups available. Don't be afraid to talk to staff about any difficulties you might be having. Of course, universities provide counseling services, but we have found that the best advice comes from talking to other postgraduates who may have faced similar difficulties.
Look at questions 38 to 40. Now listen to the second half and answer questions 38 to 40.
Financial planning is essential since the government excludes postgraduates from student loans and it can be difficult to maintain your student status with banks. This has implications for free banking and overdraft facilities. Do not underestimate your living costs, including food, accommodation and travel, and be careful not to budget for everything except a social life. Funding a course is one of the most challenging things people face when considering postgraduate study. Most postgraduate students are self-financing. They pay, often very large, fees and receive no maintenance income to support their study. Make sure you know exactly what your costs will be. Institutions often hide extra fees like laboratory costs behind the headline fee rate advertised. Funding can come from various sources. Research councils, charities, trust funds, institutional scholarships, local education authorities, and professional bodies and organizations all offer various levels of funding. As I said before, the government excludes postgraduates from student loans, so it is essential you look to other sources. Career development loans are available from high street banks. The best advice on funding is to be proactive, persistent, and patient. The postgraduate community in Britain is multinational, has a wide range of experience of life and work, and an exciting mix of goals, both career and academic. Being a postgraduate student should be a productive and fulfilling thing to do, and you will become part of a diverse and motivated social group.
That is the end of section 4. You now have some time to check your answers. That is the end of Listening Practice Test 5.